Okay, so one day I wake up, the bank accounts, I check it, it's zero. I have no connections anymore, all my contacts are deleted, and I have to restart from scratch. What is the first thing I'm gonna do to get to 10K per month in the shortest amount of time possible? Before I get into it, why listen to me for the next 10 or so minutes? Well, my name is Blake Martin. I made multiple of my friends go from $0 to $10,000 per month in around 30 to 90 days just by showing them the precise protocols that I'm gonna be covering in this video. And they were all the same business model as the standard agency model you see on YouTube. It's not the business model, it's how you approach it. Every YouTube video you see, it's a saturated method. Thomas Gannett's scripts worked when they weren't saturated. Now that they're saturated, they won't work. I want you to think of this video as Thomas Gannett in his early stages, not that I'm comparing myself to him, but I'm showing you methods that aren't saturated yet. So go ahead and use them. Use my scripts, use my leads. This is how you make money. So not only was I able to bring them some bags, I've had my fair share of successes as well in the business realm. I've had 3 businesses that scaled to over $10,000 per month, with one of those being a software company that may hit around $100,000 this month, but we're not gonna talk about that in this video. I'm gonna cover how did I scale my agency from $0 to $35,000 per month in just 90 days. And this is it. This is how I did it. Now, many people will tell you in order to get rich, it's gonna take you years, maybe even decades. And what I'm about to show you in this video is gonna prove that claim wrong. And while I'm not an advocate for get rich quick, just 2 years ago, I was working for $16 an hour as an assistant park ranger, not even a park ranger, an assistant park ranger, where I just shoveled dirt all day. I knew nothing about business. I didn't know how to make any kind of money. And then one day, similar to what you're watching right now, I watched a little bit of YouTube, learned about a marketing agency model, and I quit my job. Within just 90 days of quitting that day job, I was able to scale the agency to $35,000 per month while utilizing, again, exactly what I'm gonna cover in this video. But enough of talking about how great this is. I'm just gonna show you it. Let's just jump right into it right now. Okay, as you can see here on my screen, how are we gonna get you to $10,000 per month in just 30 days? So we're gonna go with an agency business model. This has the right amount of scale, yet it still can get moving pretty quick. There's 2 main things to this model. It's front end and back end. I want you to understand the front end, that is sales, right? That is getting your client to onboard, pay, all those things. We're gonna talk about that in a second. The main thing you have to narrow down prior to getting started on any of this is your back end. And what that really means is your high value service. So whoever your clientele is, they are gonna be paying you for a service that can make them a lot of money. That's the easiest way to put it. So in this example, let's go with Facebook ads. So rather than you having to learn all about Facebook ads to start this service, we're gonna teach you how to outsource that. So all you have to do is sell the service. What I mean by this is, as you can see, this is a company site Altitude. We're not at all sponsored by them. This is just an example of a company who does this. You can see here they charge $599 per month for just managing Facebook and Instagram ads for anyone you bring them. So essentially what I'm saying to do here is they are gonna charge $599. You go and charge someone more than that for the exact same service and then take that margin in between and then rinse and repeat until you end up at around $10,000 per month in pure profit. This way, like I said, you don't have to learn the service. You have that back end developed. Any clients you get, you can just hand off to the service delivery person and you just take what's in between. And before moving on from the back end, there's one thing I want to cover. When it comes to white labeling these agencies, I want you to understand, why are you actually generating good business even with that huge markup that you're giving off the white label that you're doing for your services? These white label agencies are led by American business owners. With that being said, they teach people in the Philippines high-skilled job positions. So if you're in the Philippines, your cost of living is very low, obviously, compared to the US. I believe the average salary there is around $2 to $3 per hour. So if we're offering people in the Philippines around $6 to $7 per hour, that's double what they expect to make. What these white label agencies do is teach these people willing to work for $2 to $3 per hour. They teach them a high value skill and start selling their time at $5 an hour. The people in the Philippines make more while they still have the same skill sets as us in the US. So while I would charge 5 times more money per hour for my time in the US, I can just white label the Philippines while still charging a markup on my prices, delivering the same service I would be delivering if I had their skill sets. It's just we're in a different position. So that's to cover the back end, why it's justifiable to price the markup that you're gonna be pricing. So now that we've established your back end is taken care of, all you have to do is focus on getting clients. I want you to understand, you're a sales company now. Now that you're a sales company, you need to understand, pick a niche,
pick your price and go sell them. And while I don't advocate for empty promises or getting sales in a service you don't even know how to do, what I'm about to show you, this is gonna get you a lot of sales. So be careful with this. Maybe you only onboard 3 clients at first, see how they go, because this is really gonna take you to the next level. So first off, let's just pick a niche, right? Simple example, let's go with plastic surgeons. Why do I like plastic surgeons? They have a high AOV. That high AOV, $10,000 to $15,000. That means you really only need to get them 1 or 2 clients to pay back their overall investment that they made in hiring you. On top of that, the service itself is more cash up front heavy rather than LTV. A quick example of this is you get 1 client for a plastic surgeon. That client of theirs isn't really gonna come back for more surgeries because you only need surgery once. Whereas if you're marketing for a chiropractor, for example, they only make a couple $100s per pops. So in order to justify the investment that they're paying you, you'd have to get them patients that are coming back every single week, and that's out of your control. So I'd rather go with the higher AOV, higher average order value, like plastic surgeons. Now moving on. So let's talk a little bit about the sales pipeline. How are you gonna take them from, I don't know who the hell you are, to shut up, just take my money? And it really is that simple when it comes to cold leads, and we're gonna go through it all. So first off, what is a cold lead? This is just a phone number sitting on a spreadsheet, and you know they're the owner of a certain surgery practice for this example. Now what you're gonna do, and I know this isn't as attractive, but this is how you're gonna get the money quickly. You're gonna have to cold call them. I know there's email campaigns out there, there's ads you can run for clients. Forget about that for now. Those take a long time to develop. Just pick up the phone and start dialing. You're gonna be cold calling people and asking of one thing, and that's gonna be a discovery call. You're gonna pitch it like this. I just want 15 minutes of your time to show you the potential this service has for your business, to show you the clients I could possibly get for your business. And worst case scenario, you may learn a little bit on this call. We're not even gonna talk about pricing. Let's just have a 15-minute convo. What time works for you? That's what the close will look like. This is on the cold call. Now they're gonna say something like, fine, this Thursday at 9 a.m. I get into the practice, you can call me then, right? What you're gonna do at 9 a.m. on Thursday, send them a Zoom link and jump on the call with them for 15 minutes, show them a couple graphics and warm them up to it. We're gonna get into that in a second, what that actually looks like. After that 15 minutes, you've warmed them up, you've had the conversation, you can say, hey, I just like to show you it in more depth, the numbers, the analytics, everything like that, as well as, what do I charge? That's gonna be in the proposal meeting. Are you up for it? A lot of them say yes, and we'll get to that in a second as well. So that's gonna be the proposal meeting. In this proposal meeting, you talk about pricing, you talk about your offer, everything like that. And then after that, you just go for the close. Do you wanna work with me? And they'll say yes or no. Typically, if they say, give me a second, let me talk to my wife, you're gonna wanna hook up a close call, which we'll get into in a second. And close call is just gonna be another meeting that happens after the proposal. That's gonna indicate they need their final decision by a certain date. Now, after the close call, you've made the close, congratulations, you're gonna send them over a Stripe link, and that's gonna have an invoice. And the invoice just looks something like this. It'll just have the dollar amount that you're invoicing them, typically a paid in full, as well as who it's being billed to and all the information right there. So no more beating around the bush, no more being like the other YouTubers out there. How do you actually do this? How do you make some money? How do you get some leads? Let's jump right into it. So if you click here, this is a database that we sometimes use. It's called Uplead. Again, not sponsored, but just to show you a quick example here, if I just type plastic surgery in the search bar, there's about 10,000 contacts that come up. But what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna narrow it down here. So let's say, for example, you wanna narrow it down to a doctor, an owner, and a founder. So the only people you're talking to are the highest level up. You go into Uplead, and by the way, they're charging pennies per lead. It's not that expensive. And if you have zero money to invest, you can literally just go on Google and search up plastic surgery near me and ask for the doctor. It's that simple. If you do have maybe $200 to $400 to invest, I really recommend something like Uplead, because this will give you your first around 1,000 leads. What's great about this is, if you see right here where it says phone, you click unlock mobile. I'll just give you an example right here, Naveen, as you can see him here, owner and plastic surgeon. If you click unlock mobile, that number right there, sorry Naveen, that's your personal phone number. So if I were to call that number right there, that would be the actual owner I'm talking to, not the front desk, not any assistants. You get to speak with the owner. That's what's great about something like Uplead. Here's something you haven't really seen much on YouTube. So once you've done your scraping on Uplead, you're gonna see a spreadsheet sort of like this, right? It'll just have the first name, the phone number, the company name, etc. All the information you need to start contacting them and having conversations to get them on that discovery call I talked about. And if you don't believe me, trust me, call these phone numbers. You will get in contact with the actual plastic surgeon. Hell, use my leads if you'd like to. These are real leads. My point here is stop calling the front desks, just make $100 investment, buy some leads of actual plastic surgeons. You'll be talking to the actual decision maker, which honestly will increase your conversion rates so high. Okay, now that you've seen the leads, let's go into the scripts and talk a little bit about what that looks like. Now, as I mentioned, that link in the description, if you put in your email, I'm gonna send you a packet with cold call scripts, niches, maybe even some leads, all this content that contains how you actually do this in more depth. And I'll actually provide you a framework of just how it's all done. Here's an example though of what I like to do, and as you can see here, there's about a dozen call scripts, and that's because we actually measure how each call script performs based off percentage. So typically for a call script, I'll give you an example here. You ask them a question, and then if they say yes, you explain the context behind why you're calling. Now, this example I've just shown you is actually a software company. So I'll give you an example of what a cold call would look like if I were calling a plastic surgeon, right? I'd say, hey, Dr. Barrett, this is Blake. I'm at XYZ agency. Did I catch you at halfway decent time? Yeah, great to hear it. I was just wondering, can your practice take on 3 to 5 new clients by the end of this month? That question itself, he doesn't know if you're a marketing agency or whoever you're calling. He's just being challenged based off what he can take. He may say, yeah, I'm hardworking. I can get those patients done. We're actually not too busy right now. We definitely need some more work. You can say, great, Dr. Barrett. You can say, great, Dr. Barrett, I didn't call to sell anything. I would just love to start a conversation, get you on a quick Zoom call and speak for 15 minutes about how I'm looking to book you out for this month and onward. Obviously, he's gonna be a little bit skeptical at first, so what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna research your service on YouTube, narrow down a bunch of different pieces of information to back up your claim on how you're actually gonna book him out, and then just attack him with your value propositions. And I'll get into it in a second, but one of them is split testing, right? So if you put out 5 different advertising campaigns, campaign number 3 is most profitable. What you'll do is you'll focus on campaign 3, make 5 more campaigns just like that 3rd campaign, and then all of a sudden campaign 1 is most profitable. And then you keep narrowing down and down and down until you have more profitable advertising campaigns. Now, in order to explain that to someone, you wouldn't need to be a good marketer. You just have to have a solid understanding of how it all works. And a lot of times when a plastic surgeon hears something like that, they'll buy from you. And that's why this works. So that was a quick example right there. So that cold call should get them onto the discovery call. Now, what does the discovery call typically look like, and how would you try and get through this first process? So for example, you started the call by demystifying it. You say, hey, I'm not making you an offer. This is just a conversation. I have some questions. You're gonna wanna start out by asking, hey, are you looking for a specific surgery, or are you looking for just more clients at your practice? Regardless of what they say, you should have an answer for each. If they say more clients at your practice, go research something involving your service that targets a mass amount of organic outreach or a mass amount of action in their sales pipeline. Whereas if they said, oh, I only want eyelid surgery, tell them about how with your service you can analyze a certain demographic to only bring eyelid surgery through your education funnels. Now, you know nothing about how to do education funnels for eyelid surgery in regard to digital ads, but you do know it exists because it does. So what you can do is you can explain on behalf of the service provider that you've used for your backend, you can explain how it works, a brief framework on how the funnels will end up getting him more clients, and you're not lying because the person doing the actual work that we covered at the beginning of this video, they are actually doing those methods that you're just explaining to the plastic surgeon. Once you've talked through the discovery call, asked him a few questions and gotten him really excited about the service, you pop the question. Hey, I know talking about pricing is a little bit scary, but I would just love to show you the numbers, the data, how it all works in a more in-depth proposal call. Honestly, a lot of people end up saying yes to that one. I'll get into that in a second, but this proposal call, it's gonna look very different, and this is definitely gonna be much more formal. Here's an example about 8 months ago, a proposal that I did with a plastic surgeon. And to provide a little bit info on the framework and how I structured this, I I basically just showed her this ad campaign right here. As you can see here, we spent $450 to bring her to around 22.5 grand in revenue. Now, obviously this funnel represents a very successful campaign, but what you then do when you're explaining this funnel is you break it down simplistically so this plastic surgeon can actually see how this would work. If I were to give an example right here to the plastic surgeon, I'd say, hey, you spent $450 on Google Ads, and out of that, around 38,000 people are going to be aware about your service because they're gonna see it somewhere on their screen. Out of those 38,000 people, you're only gonna get around 450 people to actually click to the next landing page, because at the end of the day, all the people that saw the ad weren't actually interested in plastic surgery to begin with. So here's what I pitch in these proposal calls. Out of those 450 people, they're reading a controversial blog. And what do I mean by controversial? This blog is actually telling them about what can go wrong on plastic surgery. So while it may sound like we're scaring the buyer, what we're actually doing is educating them. Now, if they need something like eyelid surgery, then they know they need the surgery, they just want to make sure they choose the right provider. So as they read this blog, everything that can go wrong with the eyelid surgery, towards the end, we start to change the vibe. We introduce the fact that Dr. Graywall, very experienced plastic surgeon, you'll have no issues with her eyelid surgery. We then introduce into the equation at the end of this blog, we introduce your client as the solution. So we just outlined all the things that can go wrong. Towards the end, we actually include your client prospect and we say, hey, we know what can go wrong, but that is the reason we are the ones to do it right. We come prepared, etc., etc., etc. What is this doing? It's making them worried. They know they need the surgery. The one person who understands what can go wrong is the person they will go with. That's the plastic surgeon, and that's the person who's going to be paying you for these services. So once they see out of those 75 call to actions, they got 15 consultations, sales meetings, and then out of the 15 consultations, they had 3 patients that went through with the surgery. They generated around $22,000 in revenue, just from a small investment of around $500 in ad spend. Now, when you explain a story, they can actually understand. If they look at this chart, they may be like, what am I looking at? But if you get in their head and you say, we're making the buyer educated, we're providing value, we're showing you as a value proposition alternatively to surgeons that may mess up, they understand how these conversions could be correct. Now, 50x ROAS, that's very good. We've only gotten that a few times. But when you tell the story the right way, they truly believe this is possible. And I think that's the biggest thing in sales. So the main point I'm trying to get across is essentially this. I'm showing them I'll make them $22,000. I'm telling a story that makes comprehensible sense to them. If someone were to see the article, all the things that can go wrong and the only solution to the surgery that they need to get is the plastic surgeon that you are marketing, AKA the client prospect, the person you're pitching this to, then they're really gonna see in real time, I can see how these conversion rates would get me to $20,000 in clients. Once you can get them to understand that, they will have no problem in buying from you. If you were to just show them these analytics and just make them have to guess on how it would all work, they would never buy from you. I think this is the learning gap to why people on YouTube, they say, go make your offer, go make this, go make that. In reality, it's all about having the buyer understand how it works, why it works for them, and just how much money is it gonna make them. That you can see there. Now, in terms of the pricing slide, I usually just go with a simple paid per month. In this example, $27.50 for the digital ads. And then I include some packages if you want some upfront money. They can go with a 6-month package and they'd have to pay all that upfront. So in this case, 6 times $27.50, that'd be somewhere in the range of about $15,000. Now, moving back to the pipeline, you just made your proposal. So what's next? Did they buy from you? Well, one of 2 things will happen. Either they will buy from you, you send them the Stripe link that I showed a little bit earlier, or they're gonna say, I have to talk to my wife. I have to think about it. I have to talk to my dog, right? So what you're gonna do then is you're gonna say, hey, great, nope, no problem at all. Let's just book another call for when your decision is made. It's just gonna be easier. I don't have to be sending emails back and forth. Let's just shoot a new calendar invite. They have to agree, of course. Why wouldn't they? So what you're gonna do is you're gonna wanna do a decision sync. And this is kind of my secret weapon, right? They know they need to buy, they're just a little bit scared for the commitment. So what you do is you send them a new calendar invite for maybe around 2 days later, and it's just gonna be for them to make their decision. You jump back on this call, you're gonna say, hey, Dr. John, I'd love to pop the virtual champagne if we're gonna green light this, and otherwise, totally fine, maybe you learned something. Where you at? And then if they say, yeah, we're gonna green light this, that is the best feeling you will ever have in your life, because you're gonna know that what you just described to them, they believed you, they believe you will provide value, and you will provide value because you just hired professionals to do this service. It's just a beautiful thing. It's how sales works, and I think sales gets a bad rep. Some people think it's a little slimy, but truly, if you believe in your product, in this case you do, then you can make good business happen. So they greenlight it, send them the Stripe link, you get everything done, that's taken care of. But what can you expect in terms of what you have to do to make these deals actually happen? Let's cover this now. So all of these numbers I'm about to cover, this is what I was doing in my first month ever of sales. And trust me, I was not natural at first. I would make one call an hour just because I was too scared. I was trembling to pick up the phone. A big thing to note as well is you're gonna wanna do all this research on each lead because you're gonna be nervous to keep calling. Only do 30 seconds of research on each lead, or else you're gonna be wasting so much time doing all this research and then you call and all of a sudden they don't pick up. Trust me, just keep calling. Now, you're gonna make about 1,500 calls in this first month. It's gonna be 50 calls per hour, so around 30 hours in this total month. I'd suggest, just make 2 hours of calls every weekday and you'll be done in around 3 weeks. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna make 1,500 calls. Out of that, about 15% of people are gonna pick up. 225 of those, right, they pick up the phone. Only 33% of them will hear you at all. Two-thirds of them are just gonna instantly hang up on your face because you're a cold caller. Out of the 75 conversations, you should get around a quarter of them to actually agree on some kind of longer format or meeting or something of that sort. That's gonna be a discovery call. You get 19 of those discovery calls, and out of those short discovery calls, at least 3/4 should go to a proposal because they've already spoken to you for 15 minutes. Why not hear you for another 30 or 45? So out of those 14 proposals that you saw from those conversion rates, you're gonna get around 5 clients. I think a 1 in 3 proposal to client ratio is pretty great even for a beginner. So expect around there. It could be 1 in 4, could be 1 in 2, who knows? Now, out of those 5 clients, let's say you're charging $2,750. Now that's gonna get you around $13,750 in revenue. And as we touched earlier in the beginning, that back end, that's gonna cost you $599 per client per month. So for this case, 599 times 5, that's $2,995. So subtract the back end service cost against the revenue, and you have $10,755 in monthly profit. Congratulations, you have just hit $10,000 a month. All you gotta do is do exactly what I'm showing you right here.
Okay, so while there's a lot of hype behind this video, I wanna clarify something. Just this video will not make you rich. It will not make you wealthy. This will give you context behind what it takes to start making money. In terms of a spectrum and skill sets, 0 to 100%, this will get you to 50%. And the thing about this is, I believe success a lot of times is binary in the sense that you need to achieve the 80% skill set pool to get any results whatsoever. So you may work 5 hours to get in that 50% skill set pool and get 0 results because you had to work 10 hours to even get considered in that pool of results, just because there's that exponential curve once you start having things click. A lot of people stop working before things start to click. How do you get to that 80% curve to actually start generating results? Well, I covered a lot of things in this video, but I'm actually gonna cover these things in more detail in other videos so you can build the 80% skill set by watching just one video on, say, cold calling, or watching just one video on how to build your cold calling script. I could go on and on. One video about just how to generate leads, things like that. So in order to see those videos and be able to build your skill set to the 80%, obviously, just click subscribe, click the notification bell, and click the like so the algorithm sends you more videos like this, and you can start building those skill sets with the other videos while I'll be revealing these precise protocols in more depth. And I'm sure you're wondering, why am I making this video? I have successful businesses. Am I trying to make money off you? The answer is no. I'm just curious to see how many people can scale to $10,000 per month, similar to how my friends did. And I'm just giving it all away just because I'm not in this agency model anymore. I'm over to software, so you can have what I use. There is one thing I want to do though. I want to take one of you viewers and document the entire process taking you from 0 to $10,000 per month in around 30 days. And I just want to jump on Zooms with you every week and show the world how easy it is for a beginner to go from nothing to generating tens of thousands of dollars per month. Obviously, I'm doing a little bit for ego just to show the world that I can make people money, but at the same time, I just want to show you guys if someone has the right directions, anyone can create some income. So if you want to be considered for that person, I'll be documenting to guide until getting $10,000 per month. Right below this video in that description, there's a link. If you click that link, it's gonna take you to my website, and right when you enter my website, it's gonna ask for your email. That's all you need to give me. I don't need any more info than that. That's just what I'm gonna use to contact you in case you win. So plug in your email to that website link in the description. And also there's gonna be an option for if you wanna receive sales materials, so cold call scripts, leads, if you want a lead SOP or anything like that, I'm gonna give those actual materials that I covered in this video to you on that link below. So I'd recommend it. If I were me starting out and watching this video, I would put my email in. I have nothing I'm gonna do with your email or anything like that. It's just gonna be able to contact you in case you win. And I wanna provide a little bit more value by giving you some of those materials that I have. Other than that, I think I've given you all I can today. The sun's starting to rise, so I gotta end this video. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.